very great, because our next presentation from our colleague Nives will be especially about this voucher system, because it was like a huge bestseller, so to say, of Slovenian entrepreneurial support in the last year. So she will tell us a bit more about it later on. But yeah, now if you have any questions, comments, thoughts for Aleš, please just proceed.
I can maybe.
Yeah, please.
You were talking about that the maturity or the amount of investors are not that big in Slovenia yet. Do you think that this new program with where the investors is combined with the Slovenian Entrepreneurial Fund will kind of increase the activity related to the investors? Are there any initiatives related to the investors to increase the activity there?
Yeah, great question. I think it will help a lot, and I think it was also like a joint project, joint idea of that investor community with Slovenian Entrepreneurial Fund. I'm not so much yet into that community, so I'm just talking what I've heard from secondhand from the investors that I'm working with. There are like some some clubs, some associations of business angels, of investors in Slovenia, some capital funds that, because we are a small country, we all know each other, they all know each other, and they work together. I think there was an idea that they represented to Slovenian Entrepreneurial Fund, and I think in the past 2 or 3 years since I started the company till this year, investor community in Slovenia and that energy is building up, and it's getting more and more. Slovenia is getting more. Startups are getting more and more investors, more and more opportunities. We also have 2 big conferences. One is in Maribor, Podim. It's an investor conference, and this year, next round investor conference in Ljubljana. That was virtual, obviously, but I think there are a lot of initiatives, and that territory, that area of investment is, I think, is building up, and also because that, as you ask, also because that community and associations of investors are working closely with Slovenian Entrepreneurial Fund, and those people, those investors are also, as I said earlier, are also in the roles of the mentors in those tenders. So our mentor, as I mentioned him earlier, Aleš Domjan, is also one of the biggest investors in Slovenia. He's a business angel, he's an investor. He invested in, I think, more than 15 companies, more than 50 startups. And he had like really inside knowledge of that area. He was also this year leading, he's the president chairman of that next round investor conference. So it's great that those businessmen and those entrepreneur guys and investors are also included in that mentor scheme. So when you have a mentor that is not only a businessman but is also an investor, you get a lot of insight into what are your possibilities in the Slovenian market, because it's still, as I see in USA, for example, or northern Western European countries, the access in Slovenia to investor capital is more complicated, because there is not so much money, and it's more word of mouth where I can get something, not so open on the market as in USA, for example.
Thank you. That made it more clear. And also, I think maybe that the incentive with the Slovenian Entrepreneurial Fund also maybe creates a bit more secure investment for the investors. So it's kind of sets the ground for more activity. So I think that is something worth marking in my notes. I have to say I've already done that. Also, I think that for us in Norway, when it comes to the activity and investors and stuff, I think that this is something worth looking into. the combination with the entrepreneurial fund and investors. I think that was, so thank you for your answer.
Yeah, that's a good point. Also because, business, like, people from business side of startups, have a lot of more insight in what's the path of the startup, how the product and marketing should look like. Then on the other hand, people from the office of Slovenian Entrepreneurial Fund or another public office. For example, when we started that P2 tender, it was still that rigorous reporting process, and the first interview it was done was with the interviewers from Slovenian Entrepreneurial Fund in their office. So we got there, made like a 5 minutes pitch for them, what were our research and development activities, what was our marketing, and we gave them those numbers and presented in an okay way, and they said, okay, good, but we could, of course, gave some false information. They didn't check our website, they didn't check from my opinion, they didn't check our, how is our product doing, are the designs okay. You can see, if you are like in the business, you can quickly see what's happening from the website, or you do some interviews with the co-founders. So this style now, with mentors included into the reporting with their subjective opinions, is great because they have their own reputation to consider. They won't give false information for some startup that is is not so strong in the market. They wouldn't do that because they have to consider their own position and credibility. But they have so much more insight than people from office giving the money in the, for example, Slovenian Entrepreneurial Fund.
Thank you.
Thank you, Aleš, for this first-hand information about the current situation in Slovenia. And I think it will be valuable also for our partners. And yeah, as you said, we are all looking forward in the future to come to Slovenia and to visit you in your office.
Yeah, great.
Are there maybe any more questions for Aleš, or should we proceed? Okay, if not, Aleš, thank you very much for your time and for your excellent presentation. Maybe you can check his website and then maybe check some of their great products. So Aleš, thank you very much. Have a nice day. We'll be in contact. And now we are proceeding with our colleague Nives. You already met her in the United Kingdom.
I can help. Thank you. Bye.
Bye. Those who were in the Hampshire at that time, you were able to meet her because back then she was still helping me in this project. Now, because she's a very active girl, she was able to find another projects from our company, so she's now employed in other projects, but she's still very helpful also in terms of one-stop shop. So Aleš on the earlier presentation already mentioned this Slovenian voucher system, which is quite a new system. It was very like a best practice in the Slovenian support community, so to say. So Nives will gonna say a bit more about this. So we as a regional development agency, we are also working as a business support center, like a business support organization. So this is one of our main tasks. So now you will see the presentation from the point of view of like a business support person of a business support organization. So like another point of view to have the whole picture on the end, I think. So Nives, please take the floor.
Hi again. Let me just do this. Share this. So some words about our voucher system. We were really looking forward to it and we're really happy when it was finally published. And I think it's definitely one of the best practices in Slovenia. It all started in the beginning of 2019. And every few weeks, there was a new call published for a new voucher. Altogether, there were 13. And why is it so good? Why they were so good? Because they were meant also for micro companies, because usually micro companies are left out. They don't meet the call criteria, but for vouchers they were eligible. It was a really quick process. It was an easy application, everything online, paperless, and they would co-finance 60% of eligible costs for different vouchers. Altogether, company could get maximum 9,999 euros per one voucher, but altogether 30,000 euros per year. At once, company could have active 3 different vouchers. So if you have a voucher with a smaller amount, you could actually get at least 5 vouchers per year. For each voucher, there was a certain amount of funds approved. Some of them were more popular, another one a little less. And for some of the vouchers, money was really fast gone. We will see later which one were really interesting. So here is our voucher structure. We had, like I said, altogether 13 vouchers. And this was like the chronologically how they were published. First was intellectual property, quality certificates, internationalization for different vouchers in this sector, transfer of ownership for family businesses, and then FQM certificate, digitization. There were also 4 different vouchers. And the last one that was published was a prototyping voucher. I will give you a short presentation now about each voucher. If you have any questions, you can also ask it in between my presentation, or you can wait till the end. So about intellectual property. This was one of really popular vouchers because it was aimed to protect intellectual property. It was covered everything from patent acquisition procedures, trademark protection, design protection, and all the eligible costs were meant for the external experts. You could get 500 to 5,000 euros without a full test. If you included also the full test into this intellectual property voucher, you could get almost 10,000 euros. It is a trick. This voucher could be used just once. As Andras also mentioned before, we are a business center. We are part of the national network of, let's say, contact points for entrepreneurs. And it's called a spot point. And these spot points were also, their job was also to help entrepreneurs to apply for these vouchers. When the first one was published, our phones went crazy because they were all calling, they needed help, they needed some additional information. And you can imagine how it was like to work on spot contact point when there were all 13 published. We didn't make the application for them. Like I mentioned before, it was really easy application, literally on 2 pages, but we did help them. And they had some really basic questions like, who should I put as the owner of a company? So you can imagine it was a bit crazy time. The second published voucher was for quality certificates, another one which was really popular. Its aim was to obtain or to maintain the different certificates. You can see below the list of the certificates which were eligible. But if you have any specific request for some additional certificate, which is not in this list, you can also get. Of course, you needed to explain why would you need this one, because the national agency didn't recognize it as a to give companies a better perspective and increase their competitive level. So you can get from 1,000 to 10,000 euros. You could apply for more certificates, not just one. So this one, as I mentioned before, was one of the really popular vouchers. The third one, this is the first one from internationalization, the fairs abroad. As we expected, this would be one of really popular because many companies are presenting themselves abroad, but there was a small trick. The eligible were only fairs which were organized by national agency Spirit Slovenia. So you couldn't go to the fair that you wanted to go, but only to those which were organized as a group presentation from Spirit. It's not so many fairs that were organized by Spirit, about 5 per year. They're very specific, and most of companies didn't decide to get this voucher. And in the end, it wasn't really popular, which is a shame because these costs could get really high and our companies would need that. But if you did decide it, the eligible costs were, I mean, they were covering everything you needed as if you want to present yourself on the fair. And you can get up to 3,000 euros for participating on one fair abroad. The fourth one is a market research. As the name said, the market research for penetrating foreign markets. It was really popular, but the trick was that it could be used only once. So you can get this only for one new market, and till the end of the voucher system, you could use it just once, but it covered the costs of external experts for helping you to make a really good market research and help companies to have a more successful rate in foreigner markets. You could get up to 5,000 euros. In our experiences, most of the companies that they applied for this voucher, they spent all 5,000 euros. Next. It's participation on international forums. Another not really popular voucher because fairs or trade fairs are not forums. It really meant some conferences, professional forums, and the entrepreneur should have an active role. So that means that they would need to have some kind of active participation, presentation, not just to attend the B2B meetings. And most of our companies, especially micro companies, are not doing that. But if they did decide it, they covered the accommodation, travel cost, preparation of presentation, anything you could need to participate in a forum abroad. You could get up to 5,000 euros, but I think the most money was left on this one. As I said, it wasn't popular. And the last from internationalization vouchers, there were business delegations. Similar as fairs, our national agency Spirit organize business delegation abroad. You could use voucher only for those organized by Spirit. There are about 3 to 4 per year. They're really specific for, let's say, for automobile industry or something, or ICT or something. And if you didn't match, if the company didn't match needs of the national agency to be part of this business delegation, they couldn't use this voucher. I'm suspecting that Spirit has sometimes problems to get companies to participate in this delegation. And with this voucher, they wanted to encourage them to participate, but there wasn't a lot of interest in this one also. But if you did decide it, you could get up to 5,000 euros for one business delegation abroad. Transfer of ownership for family businesses. I was really happy about this voucher because family owned. So mostly of them are micro or small businesses, and they're in average 25 to 30 years old and still run by first generation. The managers of these family companies are 55 to 60 years old, And in about 5 to 10 years, we will have a big problem if we don't start dealing with business succession right now. Family businesses, they're employing around 50% of our working staff. And we already started 2 years ago really trying to help families to prepare themselves for transfer of ownership. We know that doesn't happen over the night. Where family and business meet, there's a lot of emotion, a lot of psychotherapy and mediation needed. And when this voucher was published, we were just organizing another set of workshops for our family businesses in which we are trying to help them to make this process go smoother, or at least even start thinking about transfer of ownership. And in one of these workshops, we presented also voucher. We were prepared to help them to get this one. The eligible costs were included external costs. It doesn't matter which kind, the accountant, the tax services, the legal help, whatever they needed for preparation, implementation, and even raising the competences of the second generation. We hoped and thought that this will be one of the most popular vouchers regarding to how many family business we have, but unfortunately it wasn't so. Most of the companies, they were hurrying to getting the other vouchers, and again, transfer of family business was left behind for some other later time. You could get up to 9,000 euros for all 3 sets. You could apply just for one set, all 3 together. But like I said, we're still not there. We still need to make a lot of work to promote this business succession to our companies. Okay, next one is the FQM model, Business Excellence by FQM model. The national agency really want to raise the quality or the standard of our businesses. But I think that this was one of the voucher that we didn't get, not even one call. It's really expensive process. It takes a lot of time. Of course, it gives you some, it brings you a lot of difference if you apply this model on your business. But as vouchers were meant for micro companies and small companies, this was not really interesting for them. And like I said, we didn't get not even one call for this one. Okay, now we're starting with digitization. First, the digital strategies. These were also, all 4 were really popular. Digital strategies, the national agency want to encourage SMEs to prepare themselves for digital transformation. And for digital strategy, they prepared a list of experts from which companies could choose. So there was also a quality standard. You couldn't just use anybody, but you needed to choose from the list the Spirit prepared. And you could get 9,000, a little less than 10,000 euros to prepare a digital strategy. It is quite a process, and a lot of companies actually did decide to start with the process of digital transformation. Another one were digital competences. As the name says, you could use this money for external costs to prepare employees and management staff for digitization. And I said that unfortunately our vouchers were closed in the beginning of 2020 when this voucher would be needed very much. We all needed to transfer our activities online, and we saw that there are many competences that we needed to gain. For this voucher, for this cost, you could get almost 10,000 euros. It was one of the most popular, but not as much as digital marketing. In digital marketing, you could get a co-financing for new websites, for mobile applications, for online stores in foreign languages, not just Slovenian language, and the reservation platforms. You could use just one of this or all together, but maximum 8,500 euros for all the activities. You would be surprised how many companies in 2019 and 20 still needed a new website. And this was a voucher that first batch of money was gone in few months, but then additional money was granted, and even this additional money was gone really fast. So for those companies who were fast enough, they could get, but we had a lot of phone calls when will national agency give an additional money to this voucher. Cybersecurity also important one. It was meant to, for this voucher, the eligible costs were covered, safety inspection, penetration test, also some measures to enhance the cybersecurity. Now that we're moving our activities to the cloud, this is very important. You could get almost 10,000 euros if you decided for both activities or the second one, but you needed to spend at least 1,000 euros for this voucher. Don't forget, like I mentioned in the beginning, the co-financing of these external costs is only 60%. So 40% of these costs company needed to cover themselves. Okay, and this was the last voucher that was published, prototyping. It was eligible to, for the eligible cost was also physical or digital prototypes. You could use 2 different external experts or contractors. For other vouchers there, we didn't have this kind of limitation, but it was a wish of our national agency to raise the added value of our companies, and therefore they decided for this voucher. Maybe you remember from yesterday, I presented you our project CEO, Subjects of Innovation Environment. We were actively included in this voucher because everyone who wanted to apply for this voucher, they need to make the introductory interview with us, and then we gave them the yes or no answer. Yes, you can apply. This is a valuable prototype, and it's possible to make it. And in the beginning, in the end, we also needed to confirm, yes, this is what they promised to do. The prototype is ready to go. The costs were covered to design, plan, program, fabrication, and also testing of the prototype. But maximum amount was only 5,000 euros. By our experiences, more money was needed in this voucher, and it would be great if we could in the future raise the amount of money that the companies can spend on this prototype. As I mentioned in the beginning, the application process was really easy, which is not really very common in Slovenia. From the publication of call, you needed to prepare, of course, application. As I mentioned, 2 pages application, really easy. Anybody could do it. They don't need a special staff to do it. Everything was done online. So you needed a digital signature, which was a problem for some companies. There we could help with our spot contact points. For those who don't have a digital certificate, we could apply, we could sign for them. And as it's usually in this kind of calls, companies then, when they were approved of a voucher, they signed a contract, then they need to implement it, pay the cost, and then make the payment claim. But the great thing was that the payment was done by the state in 8 days. So they didn't wait for their money as we usually do for half year or even more. In the beginning of 2020, all calls were closed. Of course, money was transferred to the funds which helped companies deal with the after Corona consequences. but we get a great news. It is promised that in the beginning of 2021, we don't know how many vouchers, we don't know which one, but they will get some money and they will open some vouchers again. So we're looking forward to it, and companies are already starting to call, do you know when, do you know which vouchers? And this is really, we think, one of the best practices, how to make easy access, small amounts of money that really every company could use. Okay, so this is it from my side. I will stop sharing so I can see you now. If you have any questions.
Yeah, Peppa, please go.
Now you can understand me, no? Yes. Well, I'm really surprised by your presentation.
Peppa?
I think you have some music in the background, so we cannot hear you really well.
Yes, sorry, because I share the room with my colleague, and yesterday I have to go to home because it was impossible.
Now it's better.
I think today it's going better. Well,
yeah, it's better. It's better.
Really, I'm surprised by your application process, your easy application process, because in Spain, or at least in the province of Granada, each grant supposes a difficult and rigorous application process, and this is a handicap for our entrepreneurs and businesses. And I would like to ask to Nives also some results about these grants. What grants are more requested by entrepreneurs and businesses?
Yeah, Peppa, I totally understand you, because also in Slovenia, usually the applications are so hard, so complicated, that the companies, especially micro and small, are not even bothered with it. That's why this voucher were really great, because it was really, really so easy. I mean, if I can be rude a bit, even really stupid person can do that. So as I mentioned before, the most wanted vouchers were the ones for digital, for web pages, for market researches. And let me just check. A lot of questions we get also for fairs, but because of that small trick about the Spirit organized fairs, this was not. But as I mentioned before, market research and all the digitizations vouchers were really, really popular.
Okay, thank you.
Hilda, I think.
Yeah, Nives, thank you. I was so surprised by the number of possibilities, the number of initiatives with which entrepreneurs are boosted in Slovenia. Is this a correct interpretation of me, that the country is boosting this entrepreneurship?
I would say that we're trying, not just with the financial help, but also with this network of, like I said, contact points. We have a national network of spot points where all the services, all the informations are cost-free for entrepreneurs. We have this CEO program, organizations in this network, which are really helping. But regarding the financial help, as I mentioned, usually the micro companies, which are like 30% of Slovenia economy, are left out of these funds because you need to have a person who can apply. It takes a lot of time. You need to pay the costs, and then you're waiting for your money for a few months. And usually they're not even bothered with these funds. But with voucher system, also micro companies were really involved. They really were interested, and we could present them when they raise their head up. Okay, there's an opportunity here for me too. Then we can, when we get their attention, we can also present them, and here is the opportunity for you. You can do also that. You can apply for that. Of course, after Corona, we will need a lot of help also. especially the micro companies, especially tourism, which is one of the most important businesses in Slovenia. But yes, I would say that we're trying, but we're not there yet.
Mm-hmm. But do you see any evolution in the job creation or not yet? Is it too early?
I don't think that the voucher system was meant to develop more jobs. It was more to raise competitiveness, to prepare them for digital transformation. I would say that other calls like P2 that Aleš presented before are meant for jobs development.
Mm-hmm. But I think my personal opinion is that when digitalization is being fed, when competitiveness is being fed, then in the end the consequence will be that more jobs will be created. So it's in any case, it's a very, very positive vibe that I get from your country.
Thank you. I think that we would need some of that of positiveness back.
Yeah. Okay. I hope we can come to Slovenia to see all this in life. Let's say. Thank you very much, Nives, for your presentation. Thank you.
Sure. Marlene?
Do you have any numbers of how many have used the system and how the value of what you have given out, or what the amount of euros and the number of micro business that has?
Yeah, that would be really nice if I just get for those in our region, more than 300 different companies get the money. Because of GDPR, we didn't get for the whole Slovenia, just for those that we were helping. Mm-hmm. And more than 300, which is a lot.
Mm. Yeah. And when it comes to the call for 21, do you think they will take into consideration the ones that were most popular, or can you give your site and recommendation as advisor to, for instance, one call you said that you really wanted the more applicants, but you didn't when it came to the generation shift in the business. Yeah. So will that disappear, you think, or will they continue even though the interests were low?
The transfer of family businesses, I don't think it will disappear, because also the national agency is very aware about this problem, and they're trying to push and raise the awareness about the importance of early start of business succession. So I think that this one will not disappear. Maybe this AFQM will disappear because it's like a higher standard, and after Corona we have more basic needs. I hope that they will keep the most of it, really. I hope so.
Really interesting.
Thank you.
Do we have maybe? Nacho, please.
Hi, Nacho.
Good morning. Just to know, the funds are coming from European Union or are just public funds from the government of Slovenia?
It's a combination, 70% from the EU and 30% from Slovenia.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, great. Do we have another question or something? Okay. I don't think so. Okay, we are again a couple of minutes before the schedule. What is really okay, I think. So thank you, Nives, very much for this nice presentation about this interesting system that was really like a best practice example in Slovenia in last year, and we are all looking forward that it will continue in the next year as well. So according to our schedule, we'll have a lunch break now. So we will have like a bit more than half an hour. So it's a bit early lunch break. So maybe you can have some light lunch or something like that. We will continue at 12 sharp. So please be here like a couple of minutes before. It will be actually our last presentation of this event, and it will be again like the presentation from like entrepreneurial point of view. So before Aleš presented you like this public grants, so how were his startup engaged in public grants, and then later on at 12, Rok Staric, another great young entrepreneur from Slovenia, will tell us a bit more about his example of a Kickstarting campaign, because Kickstarter was and still is a very popular tool for crowdfunding in Slovenia. And the majority of people just went there, collect some money or not, and that was it. But Rok really made, his company really made some successful marketing campaign out of it. So I think it will be a very interesting presentation, how to do it on the long-term basis. And since Nathalie, which she should supposed to have this lecture on crowdfunding after Rok, inform us that she's not able to participate today. So after Rok's presentation, we will move on to the wrap-ups and to conclusions. And as said, we will continue, we'll put Nathalie on Friday morning, so 9:15, and then we will proceed with our regular project steering committee meeting. But we will tell you a bit more about it in the wrap-ups. So maybe Malene, if you have anything to add.
No, I think you covered it.